Singaporean fans are freaking weak. Nothing compared to international fans. Let's talk about it. So today's debate topic will be that Singaporean fans are weak compared to global die-hard fans. Avi and I will be on the affirmative side, and then we have Super Cat and Chow, they'll be on the opposition. Tough.
I mean, I think we need to show that we appreciate the support people have given us.
Yeah.
To this, hash it out.
How could you?
I appreciate the fact that it's fake.
Whoa.
Let's get into it.
Allegation.
Shall we start? So, Singapore fans are weak. Now, I think the main thing we need to focus on would be the word weak, right? What do we define as weak? I think it's just, things like being fake fans, right?
Yeah.
Not even being passionate, or even when there is like fan service and stuff like that, people don't react very well to it, right? These are some examples of what I would define and classify under weak. For me, I think our whole culture hasn't cultivated us to be really good fans. Why is that so? Because I think the crab mentality in Singapore is very strong.
Yes.
Okay, this whole hashtag support local is needed. It's a needed hashtag. Do you see support local elsewhere? No, they don't need. They naturally support. We need it because we don't. And I think it stems from, number one, because how competitive our schools were to begin with. We were pitched against one another, ranked in schools, and even our parents will ask other aunties like, hey, your son study where? JC wow, my son poly, maybe I don't talk as much. These kind of things. So naturally, we are always competitive against one another. And the moment we are put in this fan culture, if someone is doing better than us, the first thought that comes to our head is, why? Why is this person successful? Why is he better than me? Who does he have? Rich daddy?
Where's the support? Where's the support for each other?
So, right? If you all don't know what crab mentality is, it is basically a mentality of which people will try to prevent others from gaining a favorable position in something, even though it has no effect on those trying to stop them. So, a lot of hate comments, for example. A lot of people will post hate comments. It's very easy to have haters when we see someone do well. And the thing is that we only start to fully support when these people start to be internationally successful. Like, no one knew who Joseph Schooling was until he finally won gold at an Olympics.
And just to stop you there, when we're talking about fans and the definition of fans, it's fans that are not just specific to comics, but fans of all walks of life: sport, movies, creators, celebrities, comics.
That's right.
That's the general definition of fans that we're using here today.
I'll touch on two final points before I pass the mic over. One is that you can definitely see that there's a lot of fake fans. Like, a lot of people approach me, for example, and will say like, hey, you're that guy from TikTok. Or hey, you're from, let's say, What Banana. But they don't even know my name. Dude, the most basic thing, my name, nobody knows it. Some people even come up to me and say, I'm Fish. Like, that's just another white guy. Like, come on. So a lot of fake fans, they just want to take a picture of you because you're famous, right? So that is weak. On top of that, just a very light comparison to any other Southeast Asian countries. Look at how someone like Visa is celebrated in Thailand.
Yeah.
Who do we have here? We see them on a banner, we just look and we walk off, right? So these are just some examples of how the fandom here doesn't support the creators enough.
Yeah.
Avi, take it away.
Okay, I have 2 key points, which I have backed up with evidence from Hattie Liu, who wrote an article about global fandom in Singapore.
Wow.
Firstly, the popular media market in Singapore has always been fragmented. Okay? Even before the advent of internet, having 4 official languages in Singapore, English, Malay, Mandarin, and Tamil, is a multicultural society, right? Which meant that the media had to procure and produce diverse programming. As soon as you have diverse programming, you divide things up into sections, and you can't have that collective fandom and love as fans, because someone who knows only Tamil and English can't understand Mandarin.
Exactly.
Right? Same thing with Malay. Secondly, the images of enthusiastic fans, typically seen in mainstream media, where am I? Seems to be absent in Singapore. Yeah. And the country's fans and the audience in general have been labeled as lukewarm or dispassionate. And this was carried out through interviews by Hattie Liu, Rep Hattie Liu, great job, which shows that fandom in Singapore is weak, right? So those are my 2 key points, and I'm just going to give one key example.
All right, let's hear it.
You see I Show Speed when he came to Singapore and when he visited other countries in Southeast Asia.
Yep.
If he went, was he Indonesia, Philippines, Malaysia? He was locked in stores, right? He couldn't get out. He had to stop his stream to be able to leave. In Singapore, that never happened. The fandom and the people following him that we saw elsewhere, and even worldwide, globally, in Norway, in Sweden. That has never been seen in Singapore. We had to leave because our rules were so strict because our fans weren't passionate enough.
Oh, that's not true.
I think that makes sense.
Face. You can't even say it with straight face.
I think that makes sense.
But yeah,
You guys,
time
take
is
it
up.
away.
Okay, yeah, you got saved by the bell, Abby. All right, right. So, did you know that 50% of Singaporeans are fans? Ooh. Because they're in the army. That's right. I get points for jokes in a debate because
It was
okay.
really good.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So let's first define what it means to be a fan, right? So a fan comes from the word fanatic, and where someone exhibits enthusiastic behaviors about a specific individual, a group, a sport, a pastime, etc., etc. So what do we mean by weak in this debate? So to me, the strength of a fan could be measured in a multitude of dimensions across financial, time, and emotional commitments. So the strength of the fans should not be measured by the absolute quantity of impact, because then in that matter, Singapore would never measure up just because of how small the country is in comparison to any other country in the world. Ciao.
Here we are talking about whether Singapore fans are weak in comparison to global die-hard fans, right? What I feel is that we have Singapore fans, and a subset of that would include your die-hard fans. Just because they're Singapore fans, it doesn't mean that they cannot be die-hard fans. And we can really tell that this is the case because of the diverse music acts that come to Singapore to serve the market and the demands of that. Because we really have the demand that will guarantee that when they come down, we're going to be selling out a lot of stadiums. Look at the number of shows Taylor Swift and Coldplay had to do this year just for the Singapore market and the region. And I think we can also look at more specific examples, like how 26-year-old Melissa Lee, as a 26-year-old, she's already kind of like a Gen Z millennial.
Yep.
She had spent more than $7,000 to attend 3 concerts.
$7,000.
The Eras Tour in Sydney, Paris, and Singapore. And I feel like that is reflective of the behavior. If you can extrapolate that to other people who are in the same demographic as her, people are willing to spend their money when they really love the artist. So we do have these diehard fans here. And social media users, we have actually analysis of how they have different behaviors when it comes to following accounts. So a media agency did a survey on this, and they found that 21% and 20.3% of the users actually follow actors, comedians, entertainers, influencers, and other content creators. This is just in Singapore alone, so you can already see how it is a big portion of the accounts that people follow.
So just to go back onto the financial commitments, yes, we were talking about how, so many people spend so much money at concerts. Let's bring it back to friggin' Comic-Con, shall we?
Yes.
Looking at you, Thomas, and who you manage, Guru Sama. She's got her booth where people pay $20 to get slapped in the face. This is a service that she provides to her fans.
It's true.
In Singapore, and people are queuing up, paying for this other services as well.
Yeah.
$50 get wall slammed by Ruru Sama. These are all services that she provides in Singapore to fans who are based in Singapore. Definitely, you can argue that there are fans around the world as well. Southeast Asia, they fly all the way down. But it is done in Singapore, and I'm sure you have more of the stats than I do on this, but I'm sure that 80% of those fans are also based in Singapore.
I would agree with that. And I also want to say that in Comic-Con alone, now that we are here, did you know that this is actually a sold-out event? There are no more tickets. Why is that so? Because we have support from the Singapore fans.
Says UCC never print enough.
No, we are sold out. It's a limitation on the space that we have, and we're taking up one of the best conference halls and expos in Singapore. Yeah, we're at the MBS. Come on. How much better can it get?
Yes, and just to go back to the point of emotional commitment, and we were talking about concerts, how many people had gone to concerts this year.
Yep.
Did you know how many people proposed at these concerts in Singapore? At the Eras Tour alone, Taylor Swift's concert, there were at least 5 proposals sponsored at the concert, 3 being Singaporeans who proposed. And what does this mean? This means that, they are such big fans of the artists that they want to have such intimate and special moments to be celebrated at times like those.
That is
Would I do a proposal at a concert personally? Maybe not. But they are such big fans of the music, of the artists, and maybe even the environment that they would want to bring
It is true. And before we wrap up, I want to just toss out one more point. Singapore is really built for fan service, for people to become fans, because we're one of the most technologically savvy metropolis cities in the world. We are super connected. We have access to people and mediums, and this allows us to be able to be supportive of so many more acts than what is just in Singapore alone. And I think that our country is truly built for being fans.
Good points.
Decent.
Silence.
Yeah, not bad.
There you go. We got a green card from them. Just raise it up. You know you want
All your points are turning into bullets for me to fire right back.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going into the rebuttal round. We got 10 minutes on the clock, and then it's a free-for-all basically.
We have 10 minutes to rebut?
It's shared.
Okay, sure. Not 10 minutes each.
Is that too much? Not enough points?
No, it's not enough. I had like 65 points written down.
65 because you support local.
Alright, so let me begin with dissecting what y'all have just said. So you mentioned, Supercat, that the keyword is fan. What is a fan? A fanatic. But I don't see Singaporeans as being fanatics, and we'll go into the other examples and I will explain why.
Okay.
So for example, the number of Taylor Swift shows.
Yeah.
I don't think it's the die-hard fans in Singapore which is the reason why she's doing so many shows here. I think the die-hard fan is our government, because they booked her for how many shows straight and didn't allow her to go anywhere else. And guess what? They're the die-hard fans of. I think they're the die-hard fans of money, because she stays here and everyone comes over. Who comes over? The real die-hard fans, because they're willing to travel. Us Singaporeans, when we are free, I'm not going over to the Philippines to watch Taylor Swift. I'm going to Japan and Korea and Bangkok and Bali.
He missed out. I literally said
And-
that there were Singapore fans that were traveling for Taylor Swift too. It's not just limited to the regional behavior, it's also Singaporean.
Never mind. Global act, not even local. You travel for that. Do you travel for banking? I guess you don't.
It's not about being a fan of Singapore.
Doesn't matter. Let's carry on.
This guy, anyhow.
And then-
anyhow.
What does proposals?
Just
What
make
does
money.
proposals have to do with fandom? Okay, it's about cloud chasing. They're just chasing cloud. They're not
They
even
just
real
want to be
fans.
on TV.
They want to
be on
use.
TV.
They want to use that platform.
A proposal there. How can you
They
make fun
want
of
to use
her
that
like that?
platform to make it trend when they
How
could
much
plan
have you
something.
to have
No.
So
No.
his personality
Well-
attacking you and a proposal
I think you guys are cloud chasing, okay? I said it, okay? For the show.
This is
If you
too
want to
much.
blame it, blame hash it out, don't blame me. Hate the game, don't hate the player. Alright, so that's what I feel fans in Singapore are. They want to do it more for their selfish needs. Like, I want to take a picture because I know this person from TikTok. I don't even know what they do, but I go up to them, take a picture, and I can tell my friends, hey, I met this person. Then I ask you, actually, what content do they do? They have no idea. If I ask you what's your favorite content of theirs, they don't know, right? And okay, last point, you talked about Ru Sama having die-hard fans here. I agree. I think the fandom here is great, but overseas, it's even greater. We curated these kind of like acts and stuff like this to do here, and the Singaporean fans appreciated it, but overseas, the fans are the ones changing the game. They're the ones begging to get stepped on, and they're the ones suggesting new ideas each time because they are that crazy and that passionate about the different ways they want to interact with their creators.
Okay.
And to add to this, we talked about what, $20 for a slab, $50
Yeah.
for a thing. Singapore's GDP is far higher than so many of our
Good points.
local region. So that's why it's affordable for people who are here.
Okay.
I feel like if it was other countries,
Okay.
they would do it without even being asked, you know?
In fact, I just add one more point. I say like Singapore even has a forum that drives hate called Hardware Zone. If you have like, heard of this, all the uncles are just hanging out there waiting for the next moment to hate.
Okay, okay.
So this shows you like even though they know all these people and in real life they might like interact and be like, hey, you want to get a picture? They're all fake fans. I mean, it's hard for us to discern at this point.
No basis.
Okay, go
Bad
ahead.
basis, bad
Go ahead,
basis.
go ahead.
Bad basis. Well, I feel that the reason why you're even able to point out all of these things is because Singapore as a nation is so small. If you go to America, it's going to be a lot harder for you to find these forums and find these discussions because the country is so big. Go from state to state, you get lost halfway, Thomas. You get lost halfway going from one state to another state.
I get lost in the mall.
Yeah, you know, I would get lost too.
Honestly, I totally agree with everything that she's saying, and I see your point about how we have this culture of hating and whatnot, but I do feel like it is a limited sample size, and just because you experience these things doesn't mean that it's something that happens over the entire market. I also want to add that you cannot just compare the culture in Singapore everywhere else. In Singapore, we have a conservative culture and it's very muted. Just because our expressions differ from someone else's does not equate to
Yes.
the support being less in quantity.
Yes.
Yes, and we may not be as loud or demonstrative in
Yes.
sharing or screaming, but money really talks. And I think it's important to recognize the diverse ways in which fandom is expressed across different cultures.
Can I ask then, do you quantify this fandom and the fanatics of it, how fanatic they are in their fandom with money then? Is that what you're saying?
Not entirely.
And I want to pull out some data that we have. So in Singapore, the entertainment industry is a very dynamic sector. So it includes everything, in your visual arts, your performing arts, music, film, literature. And this is not just things that are produced in Singapore, it's just across the board. And this is an industry that is expected to grow at an increasing rate every single year. So this is 3.7% just this year alone, but last year it was lower than that. So you can see that this is only going up because in Singapore we do have access to so much information, media, that people only will become more interested and more supportive over time.
You know, you brought up the point about how, you know, the fans overseas, they are much more open to the demonstrated acts, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
You also have to remember that Singapore as a nation, we're so much younger.
Yeah.
So there are things that, yes, we are slower at, but that does not justify that we are weaker.
I think that is an unfair point because TikTok came around the same time, whether it's for Philippines, Indonesia, America, or Singapore. I mean, China aside, but so we all got into the game at the same time to become influencers or social media or celebrities, for example.
But I mean, by, you know, building the culture, especially in terms of like content creators and influencers,
Right.
being fans of those, that's a much younger concept that started in Singapore. Yes, it might be around for a longer time, but it was much more recognized to start overseas before that. So it's harder for Singaporeans to learn and understand how to appreciate that type of culture.
Okay, I'm going to take this back a little bit where you talked about countries that are so big. Singapore's population density is so much higher than nearly every country in the world.
Okay.
Whether it's US, whether it's Canada.
Okay.
So by right, if you have such a high population density, there should be more fans in the certain region.
Because it's so convenient
It's
to
convenient
find
for us.
your creators as well.
Even if someone's living in Sembawang, it'll take them 30, 45 minutes to get here. Compared to, let's say I'm living in, I don't know, Austin, Texas, and I need to go to Chicago. That's a 4-hour flight.
Yeah, people would fly down and drive down, but I just asked you to go to the east and people are complaining, you know, like,
Exactly. They're like,
What is
oh,
that?
MBS parking so expensive. I cannot.
I cannot, I don't want to meet my favorite content
People are
creator.
booking Spirit Air flights to go cross country to go see their favorite fan.
You know what this is? I think our fans take us for granted.
Dude,
We are so
honestly.
close and they don't even like, when I do a meet and greet, no one shows up. What does that mean?
Exactly.
What is that? I have 40,000 followers. What are we doing?
He's looking at a sample size that is way too small. It cannot be compared to other markets and other areas.
Why
And
not?
Because of how the demographics are just so different. So you cannot compare it just by sheer density alone.
They might be different, but this topic statement has forced us to compare it. So what do you want now? In fact, okay, I'll just bring another
Well
example.
said, yes.
I'll bring out one example for gurus, right? Which is that as a manager, I see this happen. Overseas, fans bring so many gifts. Like, so this is one thing that I want to talk about, which is when we talk about this fandom, right? In what nature are you quantifying it? Because you said, let's not quantify it through the way that we express it.
Yeah,
if it's
yeah,
not through
yeah,
action
yeah.
because we're conservative, then is it through money? But through money, as Avi has mentioned, our GDPs differ. So it shouldn't really be quantified from dollar to dollar basis either. So for example, for me, let's look at the 5 love languages then. Gifting. Okay, we're just gonna talk about one now because we don't have so much time. But gifting, right? Overseas, people love bringing gifts and they bring all sorts of gifts. But in Singapore, it's almost like, ah yeah, she's here, so
I
really
want to
need
argue with
bring
you
gifts.
because as a content creator in Singapore that has a strong fan base, I mean, I like to think we're really strong. The gifts that I've been given are exponential all the time. It can occur any time of the year. I don't think that's a fair statement.
So would you say you're exploiting your fans for their fandom?
No, they give it because they want to.
Hey, what is this personal attack?
Yeah.
This is a personal attack from nowhere.
It's a diversion,
Where is
it's a
this? Yeah.
debating technique.
Red Harry.
Okay, I want
It's a diversion.
And I want to add on to that. So if you want to talk about gifting, do you see what happened at iShow Speed? Who received an iPhone 16? iPhone 16, that's a massive gift. And I want to go back to what you talked about at iShow Speed. So you said that the fans are not locking them in stores and whatnot. You see, the thing is, just because they have etiquette doesn't mean that they care less. I think that the way we express ourselves and the behaviors that we have are very much more nurtured according to the culture that we have in Singapore.
Yeah.
And it is a lot more conservative. The actions cannot be compared just to right off the bat.
Regardless, when we're using the term weak and strong, you want passion. And regardless what form that's in, whether you're banging on a door where, for example, speeders don't let them get out, we want passion. Just because our society is like, oh, okay, we're a bit...
But you're passionate by following him wherever he goes.
But
That's
how-
the passion Singapore shows.
There's someone who did that for me as well. He's not a fan, he's just a stalker.
Then that's you.
Yeah, so
That sounds like
how
a
do you
you,
discern?
brother.
It seems like you could be
This is not
chasing...
therapy,
Oh my god, before follow someone the whole day. And
That's 10 seconds.
Before time runs out, if you think about celebrities and where they want to go to like host fan meets, it's never Singapore. It's always India or the US or the UK, Australia.
Demographic size.
I think that's a very fun.
Stop waving to your fake fans.
Yo,
No, so okay, let's go. Again,
Die-hard fans.
yeah.
We're arguing for
So
die-hard fans.
let me re-establish the topic that we're debating here. All right. Number one is that I want to mention that keyword that we're focusing on is die hard. All right. It's not about whether the average fan in Singapore is weak. They might be. Maybe the average person doesn't support local enough, and that's fine. But here we are talking about whether the die hard fans are comparable in Singapore to overseas. Okay, that's how I would like to frame this up.
Previously, I mentioned about different languages in Singapore, right?
yeah.
I use that as an argument against die-hard fans. However, so many streaming companies, websites have all evolved to have language-based domains.
Yeah.
Whether it's English, Malay,
Yeah.
Tamil, Chinese.
Yeah.
And that is because they want to cater to fans in Singapore because they know how much of an influence Singapore has as fans and Singaporean fans have in general. So
Interesting.
because they're
Okay.
There is a
diversifying, yeah, there's a huge demand. Which is why they're making all these different websites in different languages. I don't know how many Netflix shows are now in like
Okay.
God knows how many languages, because in Singapore we have so many diehard fans and they want to cater to them.
I do feel like when you share about how they are making it more accessible, you think that it's reflective of the demand. I think what they're trying to do is to expand the reach that they have because it's insufficient at the moment. So in order to make it more accessible, it's very easy. All they have to do is so many AI technologies will help you translate things, and it already has been proven many times that when you do translate media to different languages, it just increases the access of your product that you're trying to show other people to more people, just to increase the number of people that they reach, because the people that they currently reach is insufficient. So it's not reflective of an existing demand. And I would also like to say the streaming services and everything that you have just talked about, they are all very new technologies. So it's not actually very reflective of the current market demands because it's too fresh a technology, and you will need a couple more years to pass before we can see the effect that it truly has.
I mean, Netflix has been around for so long now. And
And when
I'm
did Netflix get popular?
pre-COVID for sure.
And it's only been what? Half decade.
I'd say that's a decent amount of time to base something on in terms of demand. Like if it's been such a short time for them to input all these languages, that means that they want to get it out super fast. They don't want like a broader subset of information
Because
that
they
they can
try-
put in, because they know that there is demand. They have to put it out ASAP, otherwise they're going to lose money
Because
they know the
they're
diehard
trying to
fans want
make
it.
it more accessible so that they can get more help. And I think we also can look at the entire structure of Singapore. I think earlier we talked a lot about the culture that we have here in Singapore. That is a topic that is a little bit iffy because while I do see our points and how it makes sense, I also feel that there were certain things that you shared about the way we were brought up as Singaporeans and how that influences our value system as people. And I feel like you are totally right about how it was super competitive and that people don't really support other people's endeavors. I think that's super ingrained in the way that we are brought up. And that's really because of how young our nation is. Economic growth had to be a priority in order for Singapore to be in the current shape that it is now. We have managed to progress a lot faster than any other regional neighbor that we have, and just in terms of our economic growth. And I feel like that is only possible because of how the citizens were taught to think and how we were taught to focus on the more conventional practical careers instead of pursuing the arts or entertainment.
And where do people spend their money on? Concert tickets. See, once you earn your money, immediately you're like, let me spend it as a fan again. Right?
When was the last
Concert
concert that you went to?
I am not a fan. I am the person who people are fans of. But but look at how crazy concert tickets cost, right? And Singaporeans readily will pay for it again and again because they are fanatics. They pay higher than any other countries because they are fanatics. In fact, that is the thing that we want to touch on. How do we quantify you being a fanatic, right?
Okay,
so
okay.
we've spoken about gift giving, for example. But I would also talk about, how crazy the fans are in terms of we have cases of stalking. We have cases where I've had kids come up to my house, follow me up to my lift just to ask for an autograph.
I had someone cycle follow me for 3 kilometers.
That's crazy. That is what I
That is
mean.
die-
I don't know if that's die hard or just not safe. Okay, okay.
It's not safe because they are that diehard.
Okay,
They
okay.
are
You're
that
passionate
I
and you
see.
can't blame them.
fanatical. That might not even be a word. But we will make it one now because of the topic.
Oh.
So it is not about how many, it's not about the quantity of
Okay.
how many fans each person has,
Yeah.
but it's the quality
Yes.
of how crazy these individual fans are.
Right.
And the distance they will go for you.
Literally
It's so high.
Maybe
literally,
that's only
literally the distance they will go for
Exactly.
you.
Maybe there's only like 2 crazy fans in Singapore, but they will go the distance for everyone. In fact, there is this one guy who goes to every single celebrity and every single influencer and poses like this.
You know what? You're absolutely right. We have
He's
seen.
diehard.
We have all seen this guy. But back to your point earlier, really about whether or not that translates into them actually being diehard fans, or, as Thomas likes to say, fake fans. So, as you had earlier shared, you did talk about fake fans. So, what makes a fake fan? I think it truly is just someone who wants to ride on that popularity. So many times, people always misinterpret who you are as a person because all they see you is as a figure to follow rather than an actual person. And if they don't really know who you are as a person, does that really mean that they're a fan? And I also want to
How
bring
real are you online, bro? Do people really know who you are?
knowing your name is a good start. But clearly Thomas has shared that a lot of people will think that he's somebody else just because of his race. It is a point. And I've had friends
I'm sure you get that a lot.
of certain race.
I mean, see, this is why diehard fans, they know who I am. They know my name.
That's right.
Singapore,
Okay,
always.
okay.
These sweet fans.
Very few instances where they're like, hey, are
I
you
think
that guy? Nah.
if
Girl,
that is the case,
Yeah.
I love your video. I'm like, yo, that's
Diehard
let
fans
us
know.
make, let us make.
Diehard fans knows me from my gaming days, from my TSL days. Wow,
Whoa,
but I
you
know
were in
all my.
I used to do ping pong trick shots when I first started. They know that far
Oh
back.
my goodness.
There you go.
I see you, I hear you, and I also do think that this is not reflective of Singapore fans.
Yes.
Because yeah, you may pick out 1 or 2 people, but it really isn't representative of our market and the people that we have in our country. Very broadly speaking, it really still goes back to whether or not our fans in Singapore act as fans broadly. Okay? And I also want to say that you did mention about how people spend money on tickets. Well, Singaporeans are actually the 3rd largest international vacation spenders in the world. I would like to think that people are a lot more interested. If you'd like to pull out such specific examples, they're probably spending their money on travel more than they are on entertainment.
Which means that they are diehard fans spending money to go and see other
This
people.
guy, I just want to hear it. Okay, you guys.
Obviously.
You got any points?
I'm a bit overwhelmed.
Okay,
Right?
then let me overwhelm you
Okay,
more.
great.
Okay, just where you mentioned how like
Okay.
just because they put in the effort doesn't mean that they're diehard fans. They might be fake fans, right? I would go the distance to say if you are a fake fan and you put in that much effort to be so immensely, incredibly fake, but in such a fanatical way to all the different celebs.
Okay.
I think you are a diehard fan.
Yes, I agree with you.
Yeah, because we are not comparing the average fan to the global average fan because we can't compare. Numbers are different, demographics are different as you've mentioned.
Right,
But the
Age of
diehard
country
fan,
is different.
1 versus 100, does this
Right,
one
right.
person do the same as every individual in that 100?
Right.
I think our diehard fans are crazy.
Honestly, I don't think the relation that you are sharing right now is very strong because the behavior that influences someone going down to every single event to support people purely based on the fact that they are in the media and not because they actually support them for the work that they do is more self-serving than anything else. I like to call this analogy. It's like collecting cards. They're
Yes.
collecting cards
I was
for the
gonna say that.
purpose of having a nice collection,
Yes.
not so much to support each individual card.
It is
But
That's
if you're spending money,
No, they're not spending money.
No, but aren't you
when
still
you're
a
going
fan?
out of your way, time is money.
Each-
But
Relative-
it's your hobby.
Okay, hold on.
Would you not
hold
spend
on,
money
hold
on the
on.
hobby?
Each person would have a different meaning to the relation that they have with the creator.
Correct.
You might not know the creator, but you would appreciate it in a different way. Whether
Okay.
it's just through their singing, whether
Okay.
it's through them talking to you on a
Okay.
bubble chat, or whatever it is.
I
Right?
see that.
And so, hence, in this case, right, it doesn't matter if it's self-serving because that's why they're a fan because it can serve themselves.
Okay, and I do feel like if that's the point that you're going through, I want to compare that to fans overseas. Do the diehard fans truly feel that way? I think that the diehard fans overseas are a lot more personal with the people that they support. So they know a lot more things about each individual that they support. Oh, we're out of time. But I feel like it is not a comparison that can be brought through that way.
It is very hard for me to speak about this topic because I really love my fans. That's all I really wanted to say. I'm so sorry.
You're not a diehard fan, you're a diehard creator.
It's a tie.
What?
Oh! I have places to be, it's Comic Con.
Same.
Yeah, it's a tie.
I give up, I surrender, you guys win.
Oh.
When it's a draw, I believe it is a shared trophy.
Oh.
So, yes, for today's episode,
How
we
did we
will
tie?
conclude it with the fact that there will be fake fans, but there will also be amazingly passionate diehard fans.
Yes.
And we love every single one of y'all.
Except Thomas.
I love them too, just in different
You
ways.
should hear what he talks about you off camera.
Oh,
Yo!
Only
Don't
nice
go under the
things.
bus like that.
Nice things.
He's my partner.
No.
Yeah.
Dude,
He
I
just-
got you, man.
Yeah.
Because you just met him today.
No,
Yeah,
hey, yo,
exactly.
we've been talking for a while now.
Oh,
And I'm a
okay.
big fan of his, like
I'm
Arvin.
big fan of
Arvin, I love Arvin.
alright. With that, it is a draw between the two teams. Thank you so much for your time, Thomas.
Thank you, guys.
We'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye bye. So if you guys are a true fan, remember to comment, share, like, subscribe, do all the things, interact in all the ways, and we'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye bye.